Frame. Skip. Get ready.
It's going to be a very, very intense journey.
Begin.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 128 of the Frame Skip podcast. I am Andie Eller, and we've got an interesting crew this week. We'll go to the most important person on the call, Coach, the Kyle Newman. How's it going, Coach?
The least important. It's going good, man. Good. back home in El Paso. Spent last 2 weeks, training out in Fort Worth, back home.
So was it? We were just talking about, before we went live here, we were just talking off air about how hot it is over there. What is it like when you're out training? Is it like unbearable, wearing your uniform and stuff out in that heat? What is that like?
Yes. So last year we were at the range and it was 109, but the heat index was probably 1 and then some type of teens, right? 15 or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was just insanely hot. And sometimes I question why we're out there in that heat if we're not fighting in Iraq or anywhere in that region, right? I'm talking about like regular army, right?
Yeah.
Or regular soldiers. So so this year I chose not to go out there this year. So yeah, I didn't go out there. We cooked, we were inside, which made it a lot better than last year. So, but last month I left early from regular battle assembly on the weekend because the Saturday that we were there, this was in June.
Yeah.
The Saturday we were outside and I drank a lot of water, but the best way to determine if you are hydrated is the color of your urine, right?
Yeah.
Not to get too graphic, but if it's clear, you're good. Thumbs up. And I drank water and I drank water and drank water. And I woke up the next morning with a bad headache and things were just real fuzzy. So I made the drive back to El Paso. And even when I got home, my body wasn't fully hydrated. So you have to be really careful. But long story short, last night I went cycling, I went training, and it was about 101, and I was okay.
How late do you like cycle when the sun's going down?
Yes,
Okay.
definitely when the sun.
I was gonna say.
Or yeah, on the weekend I go in the mornings, like because it'll get down because we're like 4,000 feet elevation, right? So it'll get down in the mid to high 70s at night.
Yeah.
So when we wake up, it's okay. It's not that bad. It's just like 4 or 5 o'clock where it's atrocious. So we're about 104 today. So
Well, there you
not
go.
that. Yeah, there we go.
Coach,
how about you?
Coach, you're in hell over there, and it is almost as hot over here. Not quite as bad, but
Right.
the interesting thing about this show, of course, we are George and Sethless. So in the meantime, I have brought in my wife, Andie, who I don't think has ever made an appearance on any podcast that we've done. I could be wrong.
I did a while ago. Maybe it was before the before the big break. I think I was on with George when Animal Crossing came out.
Oh, that's true. I forgot about that. Was
It was
ages
a long
ago.
time ago. And then I was also stretching in the background of a podcast recently.
Yeah.
Also, was your graduation in Animal Crossing, was it online?
That was
That was
mine.
his. I held his
Yeah.
in my island, but mine was I had a in-person graduation.
Yeah. But yeah, we had a big game come out this week or past week with Pikmin 4. So I figured now was a good time to bring Andie on because she, as far as I know, is the only person that I'm super close to that's been playing it. And she's been playing a ton of it. So I figured that would be a good reason. But also just to have her on because we have not ever really had any interaction with her on the show before, even though she does all of our graphics.
And you talk about me like every other show.
Yeah. So it'll be a cool one. But Coach, I wanted to start off with here, and I figured we could just kind of jump in exactly with what I just talked about with Andie with Pikmin 4, because that's kind of the big game that has released since Seth and I recorded last week. And Coach, I know you and I have both played at least Pikmin 3. I know, Coach, you've played some of 1 and 2, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I've only played Pikmin 3, so I've never played 1 and 2. I am looking forward to playing the HD ports for the Switch once that physical copy comes out in September. But Andie is, of the three of us, the only one playing 4, so I wanted to give her a chance to talk about the game, kind of how it compares to Pikmin 3, because I know as someone who lives with said wife, she has been playing it nonstop. So it sounds like it's really good. So Andie, what do you think about Pikmin 4 so far?
I guess so far, I mean, talking to Austin, I would say I would almost say like this upgrade is kind of akin to the way that Splatoon gets upgraded between each game. Gameplay doesn't really change that much. There's a few things here and there that they add. Graphics look better. Of course, I don't think they plan to do any like DLC or anything for Pikmin. Is it maybe it's a little unfair and I feel biased that I just love this game because I like the other games. I know Austin and I talk about a lot that it's not really, it's pretty low on the popularity scale in comparison to most other games, which I definitely understand. But I think the new additions they made in the game have really, it's given me more to look at. And I don't want to spoil too much, especially because it just came out, Coach. I don't know what you do not want me to divulge.
There are Pikmin in the game.
I wouldn't say like just the way play style. I mean, pretty much all of that is the same. But then, and I know they really talked about in the trailers, like, oh, you can play in the night now instead of ending the day. But I feel like seeing that trailer and playing the game, it's kind of misleading because you can't continue the day into night. It's its own thing.
It's like a separate time block.
And I told Austin it's like a horde mode. I mean, horde is kind of a strong word.
So I know she's been playing a lot handheld. Do you know in the settings, does it have anything? Because Coach, you and I have talked before about how we really like the motion controls in Pikmin 3. And of course, you had the Wii ports for Pikmin 1 and 2. Does it have motion controls? Do you know in the settings?
Oh, maybe in the settings, but if it is there, it's not the default setting. Because I realize sometimes I'm sitting there and I'm doing this and because I was playing 3 and I would use that control, but I'm realizing I sometimes do it and nothing moves.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised, I mean, if they took it out purely because the camera angles now can be better in comparison to the old game.
Because I know that was one of the first things they announced with this game was the camera was more like over the shoulder with this. Like you can actually use the right stick and move the camera like up and down, whereas in the old games it was kind of more like I don't know, not like a bird's eye view, but it was kind of above, more like RTS style camera. So
Yes.
It looks pretty cool, seeing some of her playing it, seeing the camera, like being able to zoom in a little closer. The game is super pretty.
They introduced too a lot of I guess I don't know if even new mechanics is the right word, but I mean the dog. Also, it does have 2 legs, not 4. The dog, it'll like, be that second person that you could control, but it'll like attack for you. You can upgrade it. Like I have mine upgraded so his carrying weight is worth like 30 Pikmin, and the next upgrade is like he can carry up to like the weight of 100 Pikmin can carry. But you can like buy extra skills for him. And that kind of came along with some other things that I thought were weird. Like in the older, I mean, I only played Pikmin 3. You know how you could like basically whistle at them and they would all like attack. All the Pikmin would attack at once. You have to buy that function now. And I feel like that's kind of weird. But
kind of like RPG mechanics.
What do you mean by it? What do you mean by it? Like you have to earn it in game?
yeah, so the way there's this new how do I explain this? You know how before when you would have to make like bridges with the Pikmin, basically you would go collect the pieces, the Pikmin would collect them and go take them to the bridge? That doesn't exist anymore. What they replaced it with is you can go around and find these raw materials and you basically store it in your ship. And then what happens is, oh, you find this bridge you need to build. They go to your ship and collect this raw material, but that's like the same stuff that's used to like buy these upgrades. And it's
Right.
so you have to keep collecting those. And I think those do respawn, so it's not like a limited number. But once you start buying those upgrades, I'm someone that doesn't check and like talk to all the people. That's like the last thing I do. So I found this guy. I finally talked to him. I was like, oh, I should look at the lab. And I spent like all my raw materials on like 5 different upgrades.
Yeah.
So there's NPCs that you could talk to.
Yeah, and it's interesting because did you play the demo at all?
No, not the demo.
Okay, I don't want to like say too much because the NPCs I feel like some of them are pretty important to the story. There's some others that are just like garbage. Like I would get this cutscene. It's like, oh, we've made more space so you can help these other people. And then you go there and there's like 3 guys standing in like a huge room that you could fit like 10,000 Pikmin in. And you talk to them, they're like, hey, and that's like all you can do. So I don't know how they're going to play into the story. Right. I'm kind of curious if it's going to be a situation where, oh, you're trying to build a town, because it looks like it could be set up for that.
It does seem a lot more like expansive from a features front versus the past 3 Pikmin games. So like, for example, I know she said, she was showing me the other day, there's like an actual lobby now. And it's, in Pikmin 3, Coach, if you remember, there's like the spaceship, and each day at the end of the day, you go up into the spaceship. It shows like your fruits getting ground up into juice or whatever, and then you just go back the next day. Yeah. But now I guess in between levels, there's like a lobby area that you can walk around in and like interact with the NPCs and stuff, which is pretty interesting.
And that's where all this stuff is, to like upgrade in between days. And that's how you get to like the nighttime mode and all that stuff. And I'm not staying in the lobby long enough to know if time passes in it. I don't think it does. It wouldn't really make sense. But it kind of gives you that downtime. The only thing is you can't forget if you need to buy or upgrade things, because you start a level and then you basically waste a day, which in Pikmin 3 doesn't matter. But I read that in Pikmin 1, like you only had 30 days to beat the game.
Right. Yeah, the first one.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is when you play through Pikmin 1, what I find myself doing is I try my best to get 2 of the ship parts in one day. So I'll replay and try different things to try and get it in under the time, right? But you have 30 days to get all 30 pieces. But It was very vanilla, very basic, right? It was a new franchise, so
yeah.
Just listening to what you said about Pikmin 4, just the growth of the series, like that's good news, because I went and got it today, right before I got home after work. I went and picked it up. But it's good that they're trying different things instead of just making it stagnant, right?
And I'm on like the 4th world, quote unquote. I think now it's just you're in the one world and it's different areas. And this area is so complicated. I've probably spent like at least an hour, maybe an hour and a half or so. It could be 2. Honestly, it's hard to tell how fast time passes. But it shows you the percentage of how much you've completed every day. I don't remember if it did that before, but I'm at like 3% still or something like crazy low in this 4th area.
Coach, we were talking earlier, we were sitting there eating dinner, and Andie pulled out the most recent Nintendo Force magazine, which for those listening, if you don't know what Nintendo Force is, first off, I'd highly encourage you go look it up yourself and find it on Patreon. But it's this magazine, physical magazine that is released every other month, and it's basically the new age Nintendo Power. So I know there are like former Nintendo Power employees that work on the magazine, and
oh, really? They do?
Yeah.
Nice.
So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's got a really interesting background, but again, it's like a physical magazine that's just like Nintendo Power was. Anyway, point being, go look it up. It's worth supporting. She was looking through it as we were eating dinner, after we were eating dinner, and the most recent issue is all about Pikmin 4 and the history of the franchise and, how it started and where it's at. And she was talking to me about, she had noticed somewhere in there they mention, because you and I talk about this all the time, Coach, when Hey Pikmin came out, right before that, Miyamoto came out and said, Pikmin 4 is done. It's just ready to go, man. Like, it's sitting there. We're just waiting to fire
Such
that
a long
bullet.
time ago, bro.
And dude, that was like 8 years ago, and now it's finally here. Now Pikmin 4 is finally out.
I was telling him I wonder if they had it complete, quote unquote, but they didn't release or decided not to, knowing what was upcoming for Nintendo. Because I imagine if they released it, I mean, not that Pikmin 3 looks bad at all. It looks good, but it's definitely a step up. I'm like seeing screenshots of 3 and I'm like, wow, there really is like a pretty major improvement. So I wonder if that was any reason behind their delay. But I mean, that's still like almost a decade ago. So I don't know. That's a pretty major delay.
Yeah, that's funny when people bring it up, right?
I'll never forget
'Cause we were waiting.
those days. Yeah, and the biggest
Yeah.
troll was he said that, and then Hey Pikmin was announced, and everyone was like, "So is this the game he was talking about, or
Right.
is there
I
a
didn't even
Pikmin
pick it
4?"
up. I just heard it was horrible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I never got it.
Well, it's interesting because, so I wouldn't say the History of Pikmin piece in that magazine, it's probably like a mixture of like an opinion piece slash the history. And the guy that wrote it, I honestly don't know his last name, but his name is Lucas. He did most of the Pikmin writing. He said he wonders if if the fandom of Pikmin were particularly disgruntled about Hey Pikmin because he had announced Pikmin 4 and they were angry about that, which made them feel unhappy about Hey Pikmin.
Could be.
Which I wonder if
Yeah.
that could be a possibility, but I haven't played Hey Pikmin, so I wouldn't know.
Well, that's kind of a similar situation with where Paper Mario is at right now.
Yeah.
Like everybody complains, rightfully so, that it's not that RPG that we played back, with the first two. Because 3 kind of, or the one that was on the Wii, started to veer a little bit different, and then of course the 3DS and the Wii U versions. I didn't play Origami King, so I can't really talk about that one. But
Yeah,
kind
I
of.
heard that was still good, but I need to grab it. I actually think it's getting kind of rare now. I don't think they're printing it anymore.
Origami King.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it's in print. So there's a few Switch games that are already starting to do that. I need to get that game. And then Dragon Quest 11 is also apparently out of print, so I need to get both of those.
Yeah, I got Dragon Quest 11, but digital.
Okay.
Because they had this sale. They had a big sale on it.
So, Coach, I know obviously you've been away for a little while. Have you been playing anything? If not, I want to ask you a question about Pikmin to continue that conversation.
Go for it. Go ahead and ask, because
So-
I haven't, not since Zelda. So
Well, the thing I was going to ask you, I can't remember if you had talked about this on a podcast before you left for your training, or if this was just something you and I had talked about, texting off the show. I know you said you picked up the Pikmin 1 and 2 ports, right, for the Switch?
yes,
So are
I
they,
did.
I don't know if you played any of 2, but I know you were playing some of 1. Is it pretty good on the
Mhm.
Switch? How does it?
Yes, and because I forgot the actual button presses for the Wii versions of those, the new play controls, and of course they're going to be different with the Joy Cons. But as far as the motion controls, you could only call and I believe send
Okay.
the Pikmin, right? But it looks good and it plays good, right? And I that first week I put it probably about 8 to 10 hours just playing and going over and trying to be efficient, going back and not really making it a game that I have to beat now, but just taking my time and getting the most out of it, trying to be as efficient as I can.
Nice.
I'm dying to play those
Yes.
games. I almost bought the digital, but I knew I had to wait
Yeah.
for the physical, which is killing
I
me
know,
a
and
little bit.
Yeah, and I'm probably gonna buy the physical because I bought Metroid Prime Digital also, right? Because I didn't want to wait because I didn't know when the physicals were gonna come out. So eventually I'll get those two just for the collection piece, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good because now any kid, that has a any kid that has
Whoa.
a Switch, yeah,
15 years late on
they
that.
can play all 4 games. Yeah, I know. They can play all 4 games now, and it appeals to everybody, right? This is one of those, with the ratings E for everyone. This is one of those games that everyone could enjoy, whether you're 7 or 8 or 52.
Yeah, and it's thought provoking too. Like it's not mindless. Like there's a lot of really interesting stuff for people of all ages. So yeah, I agree. It's cool to see the whole series available on one system. But with that said,
Go ahead.
almost the whole series available on one podcast. George from Shortbox Summary joins us now. George, hello.
I completely forgot it was Tuesday. It was really nice. I was like, I should go for a hike. It's really let me go down by the water. And I just got home. I was like, I'm gonna smoke a cigarette. I'm gonna have a beer. I'm gonna enjoy this sweat I just got on. It was like a 500, 600 calorie hike. I was feeling good. And then I saw a text from you being like, all right, well, we're going live. You can join the middle. I'm like, it is Tuesday. I am so sorry, guys. I completely forgot what day it was.
You're fine, man. We talked about Pikmin 4 for 30 minutes.
I was the substitute teacher for today.
You're a better podcaster than I am. Let's not sell yourself short, okay?
George, how are you?
I am good. I'm tired. Like I said, I got my sweat on today. This is Hot Pod Summer. Everyone's getting yoked this summer. I'm excited about it.
I hate this.
Your summer's about like a week and a half, isn't it? It gets like 81, 82.
I gotta get a lot in while I can.
Wait, yeah. What's the average temperature right now for you?
It's like 75 every day.
Oh my god,
high humidity.
Oh,
dude, I wish.
I was just in Burlington for a week and it was 95 with 85% humidity.
Yeah.
I remember the misery, but just we're lucky being right on the coast here, so we get a little breeze and cooler temperatures.
So I gotta ask you, George, the shortest day of the year, or the darkest day of the year.
Yeah.
How many hours of light do you actually get out there in Maine? Because you're way up in the Northeast.
I'm not a morning person, so I don't know when the sun rises. I assume around 7:15, 7:30, and then the sun goes down by 3:20, before 3:30.
Oh my god,
wow.
Dude!
I know, that's why my favorite day of the year is June 21st, because that's the longest day of the year. The sun goes down at 9.
Yep.
And I'm just like, this is beautiful. This is how it should be all the time. And then it's the days are only going to get shorter from here on out.
Are they doing daylight saving times this year? I knew they tried to put in a law where they're not going to do it.
I don't know. They say that every year that they're not going to do it or they're going to do it. I don't know which version it is, but it's the same thing with Real ID. They're like, this is going to be really important starting next year. And they've been saying that for 8 years. They just keep pushing the deadline back. I don't know. I don't know what any of it means.
Well,
but hey, video games, am I right? Those are
video
cool.
games, George. Speaking of video games, what have you been up to? Anything you've been playing, watching, reading? Anything of note? George, I think you got a bug on your left shoulder.
Turned on it.
Yeah, you do.
Yep, that's a beetle, all right. Yep, and shoot, my dog will eat that later. Yeah, good eye. I haven't turned on a video game console in 2.5 weeks. It's been kind of nice, actually.
Nice.
Same.
But I drove to Burlington because that's where I went to college, and I met up with my best friend from college who was a big movie fan. And man, I saw Asteroid City on Thursday, and then on Friday I saw Barbie at a matinee, and then at 7 o'clock I saw Oppenheimer on the biggest screen in Vermont. And hot damn, what a time to be alive, you guys. Movies are back. Feeling good. I'm happy.
Okay, so my dad was talking to me about Barbie movie. He said he went out the other day and there's a bunch of girls wearing pink, and he was kind of annoyed by it because he didn't understand that it was the Barbie movie thing. But I know, like, I think Austin told me. Did you say it was like a pretty good movie? I know nothing. What is like the premise of Barbie?
Oh, I thought it was excellent. Like I loved Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer is one of the best movies I've ever seen. I will realistically watch that movie 2 more times in my lifetime. I could watch Barbie once a week. I thought that movie was incredible.
Really?
But it's about I guess like the existential dread of getting older and just having this thing in your life that like is so static, and like what does it mean to be the same over generations? I'm trying to be as vague as possible.
I know.
So
that
no
you
matter
can still
what
be
movie you see
pretty
this
surprised.
weekend, whether it's Barbie or Oppenheimer, you're going to feel existential dread, basically.
Same in Mission Impossible too, actually. Movies are back, but man, movies are dark. movies are conflicting now.
Yeah, so we didn't see the Barbie movie, but we did see Oppenheimer, and I thought that movie was fantastic. It was not exactly what I was expecting, because I thought it would be more about the bomb itself. Obviously, it's more about his overall life, but I thought that was a good choice. I mean, it was really well done. Just so many interesting things that I didn't know about that man, and the way it was presented. Very well done.
Were you like me, and were you shopping for like an audio copy or like a digital copy of American Prometheus, the book
Yes.
it was based on?
We
but then
we both looked
pull
at
the
it right
not pull the
after.
trigger?
Yes, we both said we want to like start reading it together. So that's going to be our date night reading
What's
American
funny-
Prometheus.
A
What's
rough
funny
Sorry,
is
what
that
the book
actually,
is.
yeah, that's the book the movie's based on. Yeah. What's funny is I looked at it. I was like, I don't want to read this. I just saw the movie. I feel like I got a pretty good handle on things. I immediately started reading Frankenstein by Mary Shelley after, like, just looking at like the start of science fiction and just seeing like, all right, this like used to mesmerize people and just give them new ideas about science, and like that's kind of what the movie was, right? Like it was about
Yeah.
him like applying creativity to science.
Yeah.
And so I thought Frankenstein would be a good place to read, because I haven't read that book since I was a sophomore in high school, maybe. So
Did
that'd
you
be good to revisit.
want to, I guess, listen to audiobook or read it just to like relive the movie in another form? Like why did you want to see the book? I don't know, because I have my reason specifically for wanting to read the book, but since it's like 8 million pages, I don't know if I want to read that long of a book.
Right. I think there was a lot of subjectivity and there was a lot of like Nolan-isms in the movie
Yeah.
that I really appreciate, because I love Nolan, but I'm also like, all right, like how much of this was artistic liberty? How much of this was your interpretation of events? How much of this was literal events? And like in the movie, there's color shots, there's black and white shots. So it's like, okay, is this supposed to be like an objective black and white interpretation of the scene? Like, is this on the record? And so I guess just like learning what he artsied up versus what was established fact. That was why I wanted to read the book.
Okay.
Just to figure out what was Nolan and what was source material.
Yeah, because that's one of the reasons I wanted to read it. The other thing, like, I wanted to read, or the other reason I wanted to read it, was Austin and I were talking how sometimes they would, like, name drop people, or people would show up for, like, 5 minutes, but they seemed really important. I'm like, who are these people? Like, I don't feel like there was like, lacking some context for some things. Like, I'm not going to spoil, like, Coach. I'm not going to say much, but, like, why was Josh Peck in this movie for, like, 5 minutes?
Well, yeah, for sure.
Like
and
that
it's
kind
also
of
like,
thing.
man, these are names I haven't heard since high school, and I was like legally obliged to learn them. I'm like I've heard of the Heisenberg principle, but like what is it again? It's like, oh, Niels Bohr, he created the model of the atom. I'm sure he did other things too, but I don't know what they are.
There were just
just little things like that.
There were just so many names to keep up with. That would be my only complaint, but it's like, well, I mean, it happened, so it's not really like a plot issue.
You know how Final Fantasy 16 has, like, if you pause it during a cutscene, there would be like a lore explanation?
Yes.
We might need that for digital releases of Oppenheimer, you know, just like a Spark Notes, like remember companion apps that would come out on phones?
Oh my
Maybe
God.
it's time for one of those.
Dude, I forgot about that. That was such a thing, like late PS3 generation, where you had every single major game came out with like a companion app. I remember Metal Gear Solid 5 had one where it basically turned your phone into the Wii U gamepad, and it would have the map from the game like linked to your phone, and so just when you were walking around, like the map would just show where you were. So
I mean, that sounds pretty cool. That sounds pretty cool to me.
it was.
gotta be
It
honest.
was. It was. So
The good old days of the PS3.
that's right. That's right.
My favorite vintage console. Yeah.
It's crazy to even say that, isn't it?
Yeah.
How old does it need to be vintage? Because it came out in 2007, 2006.
I mean, it's
For me,
So
my
it's,
rule of thumb
uh,
is if they don't sell it anymore, then it's vintage.
PS4.
It's vintage. All right.
Yeah, well, I was gonna
It's
say
17
that's
years old.
not.
Next year, the PlayStation 3 can vote in the most important election of our lifetime. That's amazing.
That's true. That's true. So
It's funny because every election is the most important election of our lifetime. That was the joke.
they get progressively more important, George. Just more and more important.
It really feels that way, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I honestly haven't been playing much of anything. I've been playing a little bit more of Final Fantasy 16, but I'm kind of in a slow moment right now. George, did you beat the game? Where did you end up with 16?
I got what I thought was like halfway through the game. Can I do like a slight spoiler? Probably not halfway through the game. I just reunited with my mount, my chocobo buddy.
Okay. Yeah.
And then the next day, Fabio showed up for 4th of July for an extended weekend, and then
Okay.
I didn't play that. And then I was getting ready to go to Burlington. I
Yeah.
get like really anxious and like panic attacky in the car, and so I was like by myself for like 8 hours both ways. So I was just like mentally preparing for that.
Yeah.
Everything was fine. I don't want to say I beat anxiety back with a broom and made it look stupid, but I had a pretty good road trip by myself. But I haven't played any games. I've also I'm guesting on a comic podcast coming up called Digging for Kryptonite, where we're doing like a deep dive on Infinite Crisis, which was like a big
Nice.
DC event in 2006. So a lot of my spare time has just been reading,
Awesome.
I don't know, like 65, 75 comics just to catch up in time for
Oh my
that.
god.
Cool. Yeah.
I'm so excited. It's going to be like a 3-hour lecture on 2006. I'm so freaking excited.
The one thing I did want to bring up, because I mentioned this last week when Seth and I did our one-on-one episode last week with episode 127, we were talking a lot about Final Fantasy 16 and our thoughts on the game, and I talked a little bit about Final Fantasy 12, wanting to try that out, and then we somehow got down the Final Fantasy 14 rabbit hole of talking about how good that game is, and of course that conversation convinced me to play that game. So I have restarted my subscription for Final Fantasy 14, and I am also back in there. So we'll see where that goes.
Welcome back, man. I'm sure they missed you.
Yeah, all 400 hours and $12 a month worth. So anyways,
I mean that's 2 games a year, right? Like
yeah, it's not too bad.
$12 a month for it's like 2.5 games a year. But like you're getting more than 2.5 games enjoyment out of it.
Oh yeah, for
right?
sure.
So
There's so much content there, and just it never ends. It never ends. So I wanted to, we've kind of talked about what we've been up to, and again, thank you, George, for joining us mid-show from your hike. Good to have you here.
Sorry.
I wanted to, our big thing I wanted to talk about this week is an idea I had. We've been, as a society, we've been dealing with AI recently, just in various ways, whether it's, you've got like the Dolly mini AI creations, the little images that they make, to ChatGPT, just all kinds of stuff, just all over the place. And I guess Andie's leaving now.
Well,
So, are you leaving?
I will sit on the sideline in case.
Okay, so Andie is half here.
I'll
But
play Pikmin till I'm needed.
point being, I came up with the idea of having ChatGPT pitch ideas for future installments of movies and games, and we're not going to go through all these right now because this would take forever, but I've got a few here that it made, and I want to read some of these, and I want us to talk about the pitches. One from just like a okay, are these even good? Does this ChatGPT even understand like what a pitch is? Conversation to, are these things we would play or watch? So I have one in here, and I'm not sure. George, are you a Bioshock person?
I am a recent convert to Bioshock in the last couple years. Yeah.
Okay, because I've only really played a little bit of 1 and Infinite, but I thought, Bioshock, I know it's such a plot-driven game, so I figured that would be a good one to start with. So, again, literally all I did on ChatGPT, I went on there and I just said, pitch the next game in the Bioshock series. So this is its pitch, and I'm not going to read the entire thing, but this is just kind of a summary. It says, Bioshock Paragon's Lament is a captivating first-person action-adventure game set in an entirely new and original underwater city. Interesting. Okay. So it says, basically from a story standpoint, the year is 1963. The player assumes the role of Dr. Evelyn Sinclair. She's a scientist and a researcher, and she's working to create an underwater utopia, basically a paradise that's free from the world's wars and conflicts up on the surface. And so she establishes this city. It's called Elysium, beneath the ocean's surface, and it's built on the principle of harmony between man, nature, and technology. And of course, with it being a future installment in the Bioshock franchise, it says as players explore this underwater city, they uncover a compelling backstory detailing the rise of the city and its fall into the darkness, driven by ambition and the desire for perfection. Her once utopian vision twists into a dystopian nightmare, and so now the city's divided into factions and its society's on the brink of collapse. So I got to be honest, George, I'm not super versed on Bioshock 1's story, but this sounds like Bioshock 1's story.
I mean, this sounds like Bioshock 1 story. The next game in this feels a little familiar too. I don't know. I don't think you can like really top the story of Bioshock and Bioshock Infinite. I think that's why with Bioshock 2, they're like, what if you weren't a protagonist? What if you were a big daddy? Like, what if you were like a observer of this world, like an actual city as opposed to like one completely new to it. So I think so much of Bioshock comes down to like the art direction. And,
I agree.
And like the actual world building. So like the story sounds fine, but it also a little familiar territory too,
Yep. So interesting. I don't know. From a ChatGPT standpoint, it seems to have very much reflected on Bioshock 1 and 2. It doesn't really seem like it's pulled that much original stuff here, but I know there's a Bioshock 4 coming, so maybe it'll be called Paragon's Lament.
Yeah, and hey, also like making games is hard, so get on you, ChatGPT, for doing something,
So I'm actually going to skip down here because I want to bring Coach into the conversation. Star Wars Episode 10, Balance of the Force.
Okay, here we go. Star Wars Episode X is set several decades after the events of Episode 9, where the galaxy has seen a tenuous peace settle between the Resistance and the remnants of the First Order. However, the harmony is threatened when a powerful new enemy emerges, a sect known as the Chosen Order. The Chosen Order is a group of Force-sensitive individuals who believe that the Force should be harnessed only by those they deem worthy. They seek to eliminate all other Force-sensitive beings. Where have we heard that one before in our history books?
I was going to say.
Claiming that their vision of a Force-restricted galaxy will bring true order and stability. Now, it goes on, and this is what's funny. Remember the two MacGuffins in the last movie, which were the, what did Kylo Ren have? What was that thing that led him to...
Oh, yeah. I forget what it was called.
I don't even remember that movie.
The Wayfinder. The Wayfinder.
Right, the Wayfinder, and then that little tool that Rey had. The 1 in a trillion chance that they could have used it, and it worked, right?
Yeah.
So there's the part where it talks about, joining forces with Finn Poe Dameron and new allies, Rey embarks on a quest to find ancient artifacts that hold the key to understanding the origins of the Chosen Order. Along the way, they encounter long-lost civilizations and forgotten Force traditions, deepening their connection to the Force. So,
Long lost civilization.
well, they're right.
I
So,
this sounds kind of rad. My favorite, I thought for sure when you said episode X, and then you were reading like set several decades after the events of episode IX. I was waiting for you to do that.
the
I,
thought came across. I should have.
I'd watch this movie.
So
I don't know.
here's my favorite part here. The film showcases stunning visual effects, emotional character development, and pays homage to the rich lore of the Star Wars universe.
Oh Lord.
Really?
But that's how like a movie pitch is written though.
No, I know. It's interesting. So,
I mean, it probably has way more source material for this specifically than it does
yeah.
like the games and stuff. Not because it's older.
And it does clarify, just to be clear here, it says the leader of the Chosen Order has a shocking connection to the past.
Uh-oh.
Who is it?
Obi
Palpatine.
Ray Palpatine's grandfather.
Yeah. That's an interesting one. I don't know. I'll on a serious note, I'm still really excited to see what they do with, I know it's probably not going to be called episode 10, but that Rey movie. I hope it's good. Because her character deserves more development.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
No,
wasn't
go
going to
ahead,
talk
bro.
about Star Wars. No, I wasn't going to talk about Star Wars. So please continue your thoughts.
She just deserves someone that a good writer and a good director. Not
Yeah.
that they weren't good directors, but a good director and writer for Star Wars, like the lore, right?
Yeah. It was just mishandled.
I mean, you could still bring lots of new concepts, but keep it like so you could watch 1 through
Mhm.
9, right? And it all kind of fits.
Yeah.
But that's a whole nother discussion we could get into. So George, go for it. What were you gonna say?
So like some of these are really generic, some of these
They are.
are generic but compelling. But I gotta be honest, like all of the titles sound like real games
I know.
of everything you've got here. Like, but Paragon's Lament, I think, is probably the only one that's like not exclusively good. I think that sounds like pretty bad, like Tumblr creativity. Sorry, like it sounds like a 12-year-old's idea of deep. But
Yeah.
besides that, like Echoes of Eternia, don't love that for this Final Fantasy 17 pitch here. But like it makes sense with like the story about this person. Protagonist Alicia is a young mage whose unique power allows her to hear the echoes of past events and glimpse into possible futures. I'm like, oh, so they actually like thought about it, like why it's called Echoes of Eternia.
I know.
Like, okay, that's interesting. And then like the Mario Kart Cosmic Circuit, I'm like, okay, that sounds like vaguely legit. Like if Wario 64 were to say that was the name of the next Mario game, would you like bat an eye? I wouldn't, you know.
No, and it's interesting. The Final Fantasy 17 one. You're so correct that the Echoes of Eternia. I mean, it just makes sense. It's talking about like seeing into the future and past events and stuff, and so it actually connects to the title. I was pretty impressed by that. Actually, from an AI standpoint, just seeing that it is able to connect the title of these hypothetical games to the pitch that it's giving.
But the story pitch, like at the beginning, in the world of Gaia, magic and technology have coexisted for centuries, but an ancient prophecy foretells an imminent cataclysm that will plunge the realm into darkness. As nations clash over the scarcity of resources, tensions escalate, and the once unified world begins to fracture. Dude, that is Final Fantasy.
Yeah. That's just every Final Fantasy game.
You're right. That's every Final Fantasy game. And then when you combine that with like who's a mage with unique powers to hear the echoes of past events and glimpse possible futures, I'm like, oh, so it's like Final Fantasy crossed over with Jedi Survivor. Okay, cool, got it. But like, damn, dude, I'd play that game. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend I wouldn't, you know.
So I do like though later on in that. Oh, go ahead, Coach.
No, so I was gonna say, so you put one up there for Mario Kart 9, but like just talking about the next Mario Kart, what can they do to Mario Kart to make it seem any more different? Like, do you think with all of the tracks that they've been providing, like, what do they do next?
Mario Kart Ultimate, baby. That's what they got to do.
Yeah. Well,
like they introduced like Link, right? And
Yeah.
the Splatoon people. I'm like, all right, so like, is this like Captain Falcon? Where's he at? Where's Kirby at? Like, is that like the next step? I kind of don't want that. I like when things are a bit more compartmentalized, but I don't know. I don't know what else they can do.
Bring back the second character, like
Oh,
a
yeah,
double
Double
dash.
It's funny you bring that up though, Coach, because while the pitch for Mario Kart 9 that it's provided, Cosmic Circuit is the subtitle, it's mildly interesting. When you actually read it, it is literally Mario Kart 8. Like, it's not really giving anything different. So, for example, it says, let me find it here. It says, for gameplay, Mario Kart 9 introduces new gameplay mechanics that make the races more dynamic and exciting than ever. Players can now utilize anti-gravity technology on certain tracks, allowing their karts to defy gravity. That's been around for 10 years. So, I do like the new power-ups it had here, though, actually. It says the Star Comet, temporary invincibility. Interesting. That literally just sounds like the star. But the Black Hole, I thought was pretty cool.
God.
Black hole that absorbs other racers' items. So maybe they'll have to use that one. But
Black hole.
I don't know. I really don't know where they go with Mario Kart because they're adding in all these tracks. They've already got so many characters. What mechanic can you add at this point? I don't know.
Yeah.
Are they even done adding in all the new content yet? Right? They still have 2 more left. Is that what it is?
I think there's one.
Now, are
more.
these tracks remastered or remade, or they as is kind of?
These new tracks, most of them are remastered, but there's like I think 1 new track per drop.
Yeah. Frankly, they've been kind of hit or miss.
Yeah.
I don't think they're especially good. I think they're like kind of saving their talent. I wish they were all remakes, to be honest.
Yeah.
But like the new ones, you're right. I don't think they're very impressive.
So I think the issue is with it, they take those old tracks, Coach, like, you know, your N64 tracks, and they haven't really converted them for 8. Like, they just kind of are the same tracks, but they haven't really added much to them as far as the anti-gravity or the flying or, you know, underwater areas, anything of that. It seems like they've kind of just taken the old tracks and upgraded them, which is cool, but they seem very bland compared to the other tracks, in my opinion. So
well, that and so many of the levels are based off Mario Kart World Tour, like the mobile game.
that's so frustrating.
Yeah, those stink.
which
Nobody wants that.
None of those has none of those elements, and like also there's no nostalgia or connection to those tracks whatsoever. So it's just like Paris.
Yeah.
Cool.
I feel like every
Tokyo.
time every time they release
there's
one,
nothing
like
special.
one of the
Maine.
every time they release one of the
So
Grand
flat,
Prix, it's
so
like
flat.
one of them is
Okay.
good. It's from like a recent game. That's like the one I want to play, and then to get the trophy, I'm like, oh crap, I gotta race through freaking, I don't know,
Whatever.
Texas to get to the. Oh, sorry, Coach, to get this trophy.
Remember what was Sonic's kart racing?
Oh, Sonic All-Stars Racing
Oh.
transformed.
That's
Right.
the one that you were
Transform.
So,
following at,
I
right?
At
played
the
the
time
crap
when
out of
that
that.
came out, that was better than Mario Kart, right? I mean, like it had some new stuff in it. So
Yeah, because
because there were 3 modes. There was driving, there was the boating, right?
Mhm.
And then there was the flying
it was like a new age Diddy
or
Kong racing.
levitating, right?
Yeah, I was about to say that sounds like Diddy Kong.
It was fantastic, and that was before Mario Kart 8 had come out. So that was 7 had been out on the 3DS, but we had not had a console Mario Kart game since Mario Kart Wii, and yeah, I still love that game. I never played the new Sonic Racing game because I heard it wasn't as good, but Sonic Racing Transformed legit is probably like one of the all-time great kart racing games in my opinion. So
And I think that game had Nintendo like, okay, we need to up our ante on the series, right? So I think that game might have been a catalyst for where Mario Kart 8 is right now.
Yeah. So I want to bring up one more here because I know we've all got connections with this franchise, Halo 7, Legacy of the Reclaimer. Where do we all stand on Infinite? Where did we all land on that? I know, Coach, you were kind of hit or miss on it,
I
and
put
so
in
was
about
I.
20 hours, and it was like, it was different. It was good, but it just wasn't the Halo like 1, 2, and 3 in
Yeah.
Reach. So I don't know. It was hard. It's sad more than anything. And then I guess they're firing everybody or laying people off. So I don't know what's going on with what's the name of the studio? 323 or what is it?
Yeah.
343.
3/4.
Yes.
George, what did you think about?
It was okay.
I liked it less the more I played it, just because.
Yeah.
It was okay. Like it was hard. It's hard to make a game, right? And like they made like a really good open world game with Halo iconography, Halo weapons, Halo lore, all that shit built into it. Like that's really cool. It didn't do anything new in the open world space, so it really just felt like Far Cry 3 ostensibly with like a Halo skin. And the narrative itself I thought was really interesting, but I don't know, like it was so bloated with like all this stuff to do, and like I guess you could have just like mainlined the story, but that feels like missing the point of what they were trying to do. So I like took over everything. I conquered every base. I eliminated every high value target. I did all that shit, and it just made like the game feel twice as long as it should have for no other reason than to say like, hey, we did this thing. And also I feel like that removes a bit of linearity for the developers. And so like I just don't know how you properly pace an open world story, especially when every other game in the series was such a deliberately told narrative, you know. And it's like it felt weird, but like I loved the new AI against Cortana, and just like figuring out like where Chief's feelings sit for Cortana, like in the aftermath of everything that happened. But like it also felt connected to the previous games, but so disconnected from the previous games where I'm like, okay, like what the fuck is actually happening? Like I feel like you can't just tell me. And it's like, oh, something really important happened in Halo Wars 2. That's great. I didn't play that game, man. Like I'm not a dork who plays RTS games on my console, and that's funny because like I love RTS games, but like I could not get into Halo Wars 2. So I think to have such an important story beat happen off camera, I'm just like, what are we doing, guys?
Dude, and that's been such a thing with that franchise since Bungie left. Whenever 343 took over with 4, that has been a constant issue of, and of course 5 was when it hit its peak of all this important stuff happened in books, you know, the TV show, Halo Wars, and if you didn't read or watch or play those, then you're not really getting the mainline Halo story anymore, which is frustrating. But point being, Halo 7, Legacy of the Reclaimer, it says it picks up after the previous installment, where Master Chief successfully defeated the Banish forces led by Atriox. And it says basically that the new enemies in the game are a rogue faction of Forerunners, believed to be extinct, called the Ascendants. It says they're led by a powerful Forerunner known as the Aurelian. I don't even know how to say that. Who seeks to activate a dormant array of Halo rings scattered across the galaxy. Guys, can we move on from like activating Halo rings? Can we? Can they do something else in this franchise?
Mm-hmm.
It says
all you have to do is get a good sci-fi writer to write a good Halo story.
Yeah. I mean, the rest of the pitch is pretty.
I don't think they're especially interested in that, Austin. I got to be honest.
That's true.
Yeah.
Can you call it a Halo game if it doesn't take place on or around a Halo apparatus?
Yeah, I guess that's true. I don't know.
Or you could just stop calling it Halo and focus on a Master Chief doing something totally different, right? New enemies, just a new world to explore. But anyway, that's
Yeah, I don't know. The enemy idea though sounds interesting. The forerunners, the ascendants as they're called. I think that's actually a pretty cool idea here. So for the pitch overall, I thought it was mildly interesting, but at the same time, I don't know, man. I'm kind of burned out on Halo after 5 and
Yeah.
Infinite. It's kind of ended for me. I don't know that I want to continue playing that franchise unless they really come back strong with something that's really, really impressive. But we'll see. So I think I'll leave it there. So I'd say overall, ChatGPT kind of hit or miss when it comes to making some original content, but still interesting to see what it would do. I think the Star Wars pitch was pretty interesting with the ancient artifacts. So, you know,
Again, I'd watch that movie, man. I'm
So would I.
there day one. Yeah.
it'd be
Let it go
cool.
on the Thursday before it launches. You know.
It'd be cool to see like an Indiana Jones style Star Wars movie, like just some guy out plundering for stuff in the Star Wars universe.
I'm
well,
so
isn't
happy
that
you
kind of
mentioned
what
that.
Outlaws is?
That's true.
That's also
'Cause
what
it-
Dr. Aphra is in the comics. She's lesbian
Yeah.
scumbag Indiana Jones in space. She is excellent. She is one of my
Interesting.
favorite additions to Star Wars. She's incredible.
Yeah.
So what
They-
comic run is she in?
She is
Vader.
in the first Darth Vader comic,
Okay.
like the Kieran Gillen, Salvador LaRocca book from 2015, and then she gets her own ongoing,
Nice.
and she's really good.
Awesome.
Yeah. So there's a new featurette Star Wars release or Star Wars or Lucasfilm Games release. And it was just some more information on Outlaws today. So it was pretty cool. It's set between episode 5 and 6. So the height of the Civil War. And the Pikes are in it, and just they even showed a screenshot of Ola Jabba the Hutt. So
Nice.
this is that game that I think we wanted to. Now, how it's going to look and play, I don't know. I'm not too I've seen some of the stuff. And I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen. But
The shooting looks rough, right?
yeah, very rough. The movement, the flying. Hopefully, that's just because it's so early on.
Does that game come
It's
out this
early on.
year?
It's first
24.
quarter next year. It's first quarter next year, though.
Okay.
I bet you it gets pushed back. I don't know. I hope not. We'll see.
But everything's thrown off though because of the SAG-AFTRA and WGA
Yeah.
strike. So like even if there was supposed to be a Star Wars movie, like this isn't gonna line up with any of that because like there's no video game union, like no one's on strike there, so video games are still going through. I don't think video game writers are part of the WGA. They're not part of the Writers Guild. Like their work can continue. So
Yeah.
like if there was any kind of like cross marketing promotion that they were hoping to do in this and like other Star Wars stories, like that's fucked, man. Like nothing's being made. I don't think there's going to be a deal happening until like September or October for SAG-AFTRA and Writers Guild. So yeah, man, the synergy is coming off the wheels there for Star Wars anyway. I'm excited. I saw an interview from San Diego though, where they were like, "Yeah, don't worry, this is going to be like a 200 to 3 hour long, unbeatable, 300 hour long, unbeatable RPG." Like we saw the criticisms of Valhalla. That's not what this is. And so I think they described each planet in Star Wars Outlaws as like 2 to 3 sections of Valhalla, which is still massive. Like
Yeah.
it's still going to be a huge game. But dude, there was just so many sections in Valhalla. Like that game was, I think, 140 hours to 100%,
Oh,
150 hours.
God.
And so I think
You know,
this
and I
game
say
is
that I have
hopefully-
300 hours in. So
Yeah, for Star Wars, I might make an exception. But geez, Louise, I like. How about like, what happened to the 30-hour game? It's like, oh, this game underperformed because it went over budget. Well, like, why did you make a 200-hour game? Why didn't you just make like a solid 25-hour game and stay under budget and like still make your money? Because it has a giant brand attached to it that people are ravenous for. Like, what happened to that? Oh, The Flash didn't make money at $250 million. Does any movie make money at $250 million? I can like two movies have made money when they cost that much money. Like what are you thinking?
What's
Child?
Indiana Jones at? We were talking about that last week. I know that's been a just
That's at like
disaster.
300 million, man. Like they and like how much was Raiders of the Lost Ark made for? How much was Last Crusade made for? Like Last Crusade, I think was a $40 million movie.
Yeah, crazy.
Unbelievable.
Crazy.
Well, it's like kids with the parents go out of town, leave their kids with a credit card. Like, oh, just order a pizza. And then all of a sudden you're getting your fucking car repossessed because kids go crazy buying every ticket on Madden Ultimate Team. Like, what are we doing?
And 3 extra large double pepperoni pizzas from
Tried to get
Yeah, so
LeBron and 2K.
You needed 3 Brooklyn style pizzas. Are you kidding me?
We're going bankrupt over here, man. I could only afford one
All for the
personal pan pizza.
Oh, but I'm really glad you got 2009 LeBron. Yeah, in 2K. You dick. You little dick.
Dude, what is the deal with that? What is with kids constantly like spending thousands of dollars in like mobile games and NBA games using their parents' credit card and somehow getting away with that?
No one's made a law yet.
Well, you couldn't like do that when we were kids. Like, I mean, we loved Pokemon cards when we were kids,
Yeah.
right? And like Magic cards, but like you had to go to the store to get those, and so like and that shit was like hidden behind a glass. So like it really was like, how much money do you have? Okay, that's how many you can get.
Yeah.
Whereas like kids, I'm not blaming the kids because like they make it
No.
so easy. It's just like, oh, just
It's the parents.
just get another pack of cards.
One
Yeah,
of
it's
my
I don't
high
think it's the
school-
parents, it's the games.
No, it's also no. So
It's
I have
both.
a high school friend, and he used to tutor, I guess, while we were still in high school. And this was when Temple Run was like the game.
Oh yeah.
And there was this
Yeah.
one kid
Still
that he
is.
tutored, and I guess he was showing him playing one. He's like, yeah, if I run out of coins, I just push this button like over and over. And he was buying like thousands upon thousands of coins. He was spending like hundreds of dollars of coins right in front of my friend. And he was like, you need to stop. Do your parents know you do this? And he was like, yeah, I got in trouble when I did it like the other 5 times this happened. And this, I mean, passwords exist, but I guess, yeah, the parents never did anything. So this kid's buying like $1,000 worth of Temple Run coins with no consequences.
Unbelievable.
That is the parents' fault. Like, you could have password protected that.
All I know
Temple
is if
Temple Run is really good though. So.
I was gonna say, I mean, it is pretty good. If we ever have a kid and my child spends thousands of real life money on dollars on Final Fantasy 14, I'll be okay with that.
Yeah.
Not. Said no one ever.
Someone's making a face.
I would allow the child to buy many Kirby products.
There you go.
You can
So-
buy whatever you want as long as
How was the
yeah.
how was the most recent Kirby game? The one where they went kind of like
The remake?
No, not the one before that.
Forgotten.
The 3D open world
Forgotten
type
Land.
thing.
Yeah.
I love
How
that
was
game.
that? Because I think you guys got it right.
That game was excellent.
Yeah.
Really,
Yeah.
it was set in like an Armageddon type of world, right? Where
Oh, it
kind
was
of
such a good
post-apocalyptic,
game.
a little creepy. It was really good though.
I still didn't like the co-op in it. Andy played all the way through it.
I'm the only thing I haven't done is, you know, on most Kirby games, like I guess maybe the more recent ones, you beat the boss, or like there's like the stadiums where you can go fight the bosses. There's like you beat the normal boss, and then they have like a boss number 2 that's like a kind of a pumped up version of that boss, and like the final boss, and he's like the final boss on steroids. Like the only thing I have left to do in that game, but that fight is like 45 minutes long.
But
Oh man, I never finished like the challenge mode where you just go through the old levels and you have to collect all like the 50 shines or whatever in each level. That shit was brutal.
I think, yeah, I went back and did like everything but that last thing. I think that's probably one of the best Kirby games I played.
it's good. My problem with Nintendo games recently, and Pikmin 4 does this too, where Pikmin 3 had full on like 2-player co-op. Like Andy and I played the whole game together, co-op. And in Pikmin 4, they kind of removed it and went more with the Mario Galaxy style, like the second person just basically
Points
does
at the screen.
nothing. So
Yeah.
that was my problem a little bit with Forgotten Land, was like we were trying to play it co-op and the second person could only be like the shitty bandana Waddle Dee. You couldn't be a
With
Kirby.
the sphere, right?
Yeah.
He's not that shitty, just kind of.
Or the goo from Luigi's Mansion
Yeah.
3.
Yes.
Gooey.
That one, I feel like
Yeah.
though Guigi is still better than what you could do. Like 90% of what the normal Luigi could do. Freaking Waddle Dee can just do
Andy-
like stabbing and this, and that's like all you can do with him.
And you could go through fences as Gooigi, right? Wasn't that a big part
Yeah,
of it?
that you like.
Yeah.
Well, you have to like use Guigi in part of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, oh man, I don't know. Sometimes the second player thing, I don't know.
Yeah, I just wish they'd have it more fully fledged. I think Pikmin 3 did it really well on the Switch, and I don't know. I get they're probably doing it for like families, you know, so that you've got like the parent playing and then the younger kid on second player if they're less capable mentally.
We have a kid, that kid's always playing the second player.
Yeah. But I don't
Contra
know.
did it best back on the NES.
That's true. That's true. So, all right, guys. Anything else y'all want to add before we wrap it up here?
Coach, have you beat Tears of the Kingdom?
Sure. You know what? I haven't, only because there's just so much to do. I hit the 300-hour mark,
Oh my god.
and I built the best weapon, and I'm just having fun just going and using that weapon. So it is the scimitar that you get after you beat the Gerudo area. What is it called? Something of the
Oh.
scimitar.
All the I don't like, is it like the ultimate? I don't know. I don't think I got that one.
Yeah, but I did a bunch of the stuff I think before. I didn't have to do much. After the level, after I beat the boss, I just had to go get another diamond, and I had everything that I needed from that. I talked to the person before I even did the temple, and then the silver Lionel horn. Oh my gosh, you use those. The thing is, the reason why the scimitar is so good, and this is for everybody, is because it doubles the attack of whatever you're forging or you're
It's-
fusing.
That's
Right?
all of the Gerudo weapons. They all double.
Yes, yes. And that's why it's so good. And I go down into the depths. I know exactly where to go to get it. And I spent about 4 or 5 hours
Oh
just
my god.
roaming around, just like marking, okay, so this, and then also the royal guard weapons are pretty high powered too. So I know exactly where to go. And just being able to go through and beat the Lionels in the Colosseum and the upside down that's all I need. I don't have to play this game ever again. I did one of the hardest things right
So
there.
you beat the Colosseum?
Twice.
Oh, that was a struggle. Austin
So
was
every
listening
blood
to me
moon,
scream over this freaking Colosseum.
but I'm not good enough to where I can go through without saving.
Okay.
Right. So, but what I'll do, so I'll beat the first Lionel. First Lionel's a red Lionel, pretty easy. The second and third one are not. Once you get to the silver, then I'll save it, because like if you have a certain way of doing things and you're not doing it, it's hard to, you get taken out pretty easy,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah, I
So-
suck at fighting the
but-
Lionels. I go through like the silver ones. I go through like 3 shields to fight one.
Right. Yeah.
Ugh.
So like I could, if they only have one video game for the rest of my life, that would easily be it.
Surprised it's
So-
not
and then, like,
Rogue
if I need-
Squadron, Republic Commando, Batman Arkham City.
Sorry. Those are like down. Those are top 10. I'm not top 5 anymore.
No, I think.
But I love,
Oh, sorry, you go
Go
ahead. Oh,
I just love riding the dragons and then getting all of the parts that you could get on them.
yeah.
You know, the light, especially the light one. So
The freaky.
because you can make money too. So you pick up the easiest. There's like 12 of the shards, I think it is. So you pick those up and you could get about like 300 coins or whatever. So
Oh,
that's
that's good.
1,200. Yeah, so you could quickly make money just riding those. So, but yeah, I have like, that's
Austin hasn't picked up
Yeah.
that game in weeks.
Yeah, I got kind of burned out on it. I want to go back at some point. I think it was just a little too much for me. From a just amount going on in that game at the time when it came out. But I got pretty far in it. I think I'm actually right at the end, but I want to go back and play more eventually. But for now, I'm like in a Final Fantasy phase. So
The worst part of that game
So-
is the ending, getting to the end.
is what?
The worst part, I feel like,
Yeah.
is getting to the end. Because, like, I don't know. I feel like, not that the ending was anticlimactic, but it was not as good as I was hoping it was going to be,
Oh, okay.
which is kind of sad.
Did you beat the before you fought Ganon? And I still have Death Mountain, and then I guess whatever happened, then I'll have all 4 regions defeated. But did you fight the hands?
Oh, yeah, now I'm looking for
Calamity
them. I can't
Hands?
find them anymore.
Oh man, and then you get Phantom Ganon. Like once you defeat the hands, you get Phantom Ganon, and
His weapon's pretty good. The bow is, I mean, not so great, but I realize if you
yes,
attach like a sun, what is the dandelion thing, the flower that helps, the light flower. I think I read if you attach that to his weapon, it cancels out the gloom it gives you.
right,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't tried it. I just
And
saw
then-
it.
yeah. So, but there's so much to do in that game, and it's just like I really love that. It's going to be hard for Spider-Man to top that for me. When
Yeah.
Spider-Man comes out in a few months, you know.
it's soon.
What are you guys going to get? Are you going to get Mario or Spider-Man?
Honestly,
I'm getting them both. This is Barbenheimer Part 2, baby.
There
I
you go.
I honestly was going to get Alan Wake 2 and hold off on Spider-Man because Alan Wake is like 2 days before Spider-Man. But after seeing that story trailer the other day for Spider-Man, I don't know what to get now. I don't even know. But I'm definitely going to get Mario either way. It's just,
Oh
do
my
I get
gosh.
Alan Wake or Spider-Man? That's the question. But I'll play all 3 at some point. So anyway, with that, let's go on and wrap it up here, guys. Thank you all for tuning in. If you've been listening live on YouTube, of course you can do that. Just go to bit.ly/frameskipq, or frameskip live rather. So bit.ly/frameskip live. That'll take you right to our YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe, and you'll get notified when we go live on YouTube. And then if you are watching us live on YouTube, don't forget you can also follow us on podcast services and find the show after the fact recorded and listen to it as you're driving, as you are working out, whatever it may be on your phone. We are on pretty much everything: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, pretty much everything in the universe. So the show is also on social media at FrameSkipPod on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And then we are each individually on Twitter. Aside from Coach, I am at Austin J. Eller. George is at Shortbox Summary. And then Seth, who is not here tonight, is at Seth the 90s Kid. So go follow us all there. And George, you got anything fun going on with Shortbox Summary soon? Any new episodes you want to shout out right now?
I do not. I'm taking a break for the rest of July, and I
Nice.
want to come back in mid-August. We just wrapped up House of M.
Cool.
And dealing with the fallout. I've been reading a lot of X-Men titles in addition to a lot of DC titles for some upcoming shows going to be guesting on. So get excited. Things are about to get nuts over at 2005 again. Get ready. Choo choo. Train's leaving the station.
So, of course, go find Shortbox Summary. That's George's podcast show, his comics podcast, on pretty much the same places you can find us. And, while he's on break right now, there are plenty of episodes for you to catch up on. So go follow him over there and go tune into some of those. So with that, we'll end it there. Thank you all for listening, and we'll be back next week for some more talk on whatever's going on in the nerdy world of movies, TV shows, and video games and comics. So until next time.
I'm gonna talk about anime next week. Get excited.
Oh yeah, anime too. There you go. Until next time.
Yeah.
See you guys later.
Smooch.